Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, an iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast nominee. We are so very, very grateful that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. We have a wonderful, wonderful show for you today. We try to have a wonderful show for you all the time, so please be sure to connect with us on Facebook. We're at facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, on Twitter at Jedley Magic, and on Instagram, Reading with Your Kids. Our guest today is the author of The Circus Fish, Marla Huehmer. Before Marla joins us, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by The Adventures of Johnny Pocket Band, Battle of the Bands by Linda Phelps. Do you know a teen or a tween who struggles with stress and anxiety? If you answered yes, let me suggest a perfect fun summer read. The Adventures of Johnny Pocket Band by Linda Phelps. Johnny and his brother Drummer Boy are excited to compete in the Battle of the Bands. They have 2 months to get the band prepared, but everyone is way nervous. Johnny has promised himself that this year he will conquer his anxiety and start to have some fun. And with the help of his friends, he just might be able to do that. This story captures the emotions, the fears, and the excitement of the preteen years. It's a difficult time for everyone, but the story opens up a window of understanding as each child shares their thoughts about fitting in, making friends, and this really weird feeling of being attracted to girls. This is a fantastic read for all families. The Adventures of Johnny Pocket Band, Battle of the Bands, is available on Amazon or by going to Linda's website, johnnypocket.net. The Adventures of Johnny Pocket Band. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Kid Curated Books. We love Kid Curated Books. You know, I love the fact that you listen to the podcast and you find some great books to add to your family library after listening to the authors let you know about them. Another great way to find some great books for your family is through Kid Curated Books. Kid Curated Books is an online service that offers monthly book box subscriptions for children ranging in age from infants to teenagers. Now, don't go rolling your eyes and say, oh, just another subscription service. Let me tell you how Kid Curated Books is different. Kid Curated Books doesn't just send each child the same tired old box. And in fact, seldom are 2 book boxes ever identical. That's because Kid Curated Books understands that no kids are identical. Based on a survey that you will complete during the initial subscription setup and based on subsequent feedback from the kids, Kid Curated Books creates a custom book box designed specifically for your child that will engage, excite, and educate them. Each monthly delivery arrives in a colorful box that is packaged like a present and addressed to the child. Kids love this. Subscribe to Kid Curated Books today, and we will provide amazing reading for your kids no matter what their age. Now, you might not be ready to commit to a subscription. That's okay. Kid Curated Books also offers an array of gift boxes for baby showers, holidays, and birthdays. Check it out today, kidcuratedbooks.com. And we also want to let you know that this episode of the podcast is also brought to you by I Can Handle It by Laurie Wright. Now, if you're around kids these days, you may have noticed that many of them don't realize how very capable they are. Many kids haven't had practice solving their own problems, and because of that, they think that they're just not able to. Kids need to know that they are quite capable of handling situations that they're going to encounter in everyday life. And they're quite capable of handling the emotions that happen when life throws us a curveball. Practicing handling their problems is essential for achieving success in the real world. Now, we're talking about problems that the kids face every day, like missing shoes and having to turn off the TV, wanting a pet, or making a mistake. Kids learn best through repetition, and after reading this book and hearing the mantra, I can handle it, over and over, they will identify with the child in the story, they will realize that they are just like him, and they will declare to all that they can handle it. You can learn more about I Can Handle It and about Laura's Mindful Mantra series by visiting her website, laurawriter.com. Joining us on the line right now from Southern California. She is one of the friends of the show. She was here not too long ago, and she is back with a brand new book called The Circus Fish. Please welcome to the show, Marla Huehmer. Marla, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. It's sunny in Southern California today.
That is awesome. And, you know, it's really appropriate because The Circus Fish is a book that is really sunny and bright, and it's just a wonderful experience for families.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just happen to have a copy in my hand. Marla was kind enough to send me an autographed copy, and it was very, very cute. It was autographed. One of the interesting things about The Circus Fish is that it was written by Marla, but it was illustrated by Natasha and London Huehmer, who are Marla's kids.
Yeah, and of course myself too. I just didn't add that on there, but they do a great big part of it for me, that's for sure.
So tell us about The Circus Fish.
Okay, yeah, The Circus Fish. Well, I was inspired to write The Circus Fish some time ago when my oldest daughter, she was in kindergarten, and she would come home to school. She would come home from school, and she would be she would cry, and she'd say, "Mommy, they're just having me trace letters and whatnot." And I didn't know what was going on, and I was trying to observe in her class, and they wouldn't really let me observe. We're long gone from that school now, but but anyhow, I came to find out that the work was just a little too easy for her. So I went ahead and said, "Hey, can we bump her up?" So they went ahead after much discussion and after much observation from the school and the principal and the teachers. They went ahead and eased her into first grade in her mid-school year, and she just soared. She soared so quickly. Cause she was already reading before she went into kindergarten, and then her reading skills just bumped up almost like 2 grade levels when she went into the first grade. And I thought she would have been so stuck behind, you know, if she would have stayed in kindergarten the whole year. For her, everybody's different, but anyways, you know, I was inspired to write it when I saw her. You know, she was a little hesitant when she first got into her classroom, sitting there, because I was able to go in on that first day, and some of the kids were looking at her, and some of her friends from kindergarten, you know, they gave her this look like she can't do this, but I knew in her heart that she could. So I thought, I'm going to write a little story about this, because she loves stories. She loves books, you know. So I decided one night to write a little story about this fish who had this really big dream. Because a fish in the circus that's never been, you know, it's the most oddest thing, you know. So this little fish, the circus fish, she's a girl, and her name is Little Fish. And she has this dream to be the biggest famous circus fish that the ocean has ever seen. And she travels along, well, she first tells her friends in the sea that she would like to be in the circus, and everybody questions it, and they have some doubt in her, and then she says, "Oh no, I know I can do this." So she sets out on her path, and as she meets her little friends along the way that she feels that could help her look the part, you know. So she meets some friends that help her get a little star, so she looks like she's got some paint on her. When I think of circus, I think of, you know, they wear makeup and whatnot, and another friend that would help her find a little hat, you know, to make her look the part, because when you think of a circus, you think of makeup, you think of hats, you think of costumes. And then she meets a little friend, the dolphin, who helps her do tricks, because she has to really pop out and stand out and show what she can do. And she goes to the circus where it's being held. It's on the beach, and she's jumping. She's doing her tricks. She has her star on. She has her hat. And the clown spots her and picks her up and says, "Oh my goodness, you're going to be the most famous circus fish." So she makes it. So she made her dream come true. So that was my book. Is focused for kids to, if they have a dream and they have a goal, to stick to it. And then, you know, don't let anybody make you create too much doubt where you stop along that path, but keep going, keep pushing forward, and you'll succeed.
I agree, and you bring up so many points. The one point I just want to bring up that you just kind of touched on, and you know, you mentioned the fact that you weren't able to observe your child in school, and that you're not in that school anymore. And that's really great. If you're at a school and they say, "No, sorry, you can't watch your child, you can't observe the child's class," that's an issue.
It is.
And so, yeah, you made a good move. So,
yes.
So congratulations. But more than that, you talk about dreams and encouraging kids to follow their dreams. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful message for kids. But even before that, I think it's really important for us to encourage our kids to dream.
Yes, exactly.
I've read so many studies that show that kids who have dreams are happier. They do better in school. They're more likely to be successful and to make their dreams come true. And so when I read that, I'm like, oh, well, this is interesting, but where do they find kids who don't have dreams? Everybody has dreams.
Mm-hmm.
But I started in my educational magic shows in schools, I started asking kids, hey, who here has a dream? Who believes in... And I was really horrified to see that it's, maybe 50%, in a good day, maybe 50 or 60% of the kids raise their hands.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Very
And
sad.
so I encourage the kids when I see that, I encourage kids to dream and let them know why it's so useful. But I think that this is a great book and a great way for parents to start encouraging our kids to imagine and to start to dream and to start thinking about their future, no matter how young they are.
Oh, I agree. I know even what's very cool is we have I've created this. We're new to this city where I'm living now, and we were coming in, and I had this idea to create this class that allowed kids to write and illustrate their own storybook. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I created that was to get kids thinking and imagining and dreaming and building and thinking what they can do, their possibilities, and, some of the kids in the class, when you ask them what they want to do when they get older, they were silent. And I thought, oh no, and that's not the parents' fault. That's not anybody's fault. But I thought, I guess that's never been brought up before, that encouraging talk, so I appreciate you saying that this book will help bring that discussion. Maybe the mom, the dad will sit down, or the grandma or the grandpa or uncle, aunt, anybody, cousins, and they say, hey, what's your dream? And then maybe talk about what a big dream is, So this little fish wanted to be in the circus. What do you think you want to do? And maybe not when you're older, but maybe next year or next month, or, what's this big dream that you have?
Yep, absolutely. So very important. And I would also encourage parents, if your kids come up with something that seems outlandish to you, like I'm going to go to Mars and live on Mars and whatever, when they're 6 or 7, that's not the time to tell them to be more realistic with their dreams. It's,
No, agree. Yeah, I agree.
Just encourage that and figure, if you want to go to Mars, what do you need to do that? Well, you need to study really hard in school and eat healthy food. And there's just so many ways that you can be encouraging. And, if they get to high school or college and they figure, I don't really want to live on Mars, but they've been dreaming. And so you're getting them in the right place. One of the things you mentioned is this neat class where parents and kids can come together and create their own book.
Yes.
One of the things I love about your books is that they are illustrated by you and your kids. And the illustrations are very, very unique. So why don't you tell us how you created those illustrations?
Yeah, well, first, I write the story, and then I have kids read it and let me know what they think about it. And then I will separate my story into sections, and I'll try to bring the words to life through rough sketches. Mm-hmm. And after the rough sketches, then I'll call in my kids to come in to help me bring those rough sketches to life with craft paper. And the reason why I chose craft paper is because the very first books that we started, my oldest daughter now, she was about 2 or so, and she was, I always kind of encouraged them to do more things, and she was learning how to cut. So I would hold the paper and she'd cut little pieces and cut this piece and cut that piece. And then, I just thought it was kind of like a learning experience at the same time. And, so she was learning to cut. She was learning her colors. So we would go to the craft store and pick out different colors of craft paper. And then we would come home and lay out our designs, and I show her the sketch, and I was like, let's try to make these images look like that sketch. And, and she was real little, so you have to do what you can. You do most of the work, right? But it's getting her feedback. Mm-hmm. Even now, getting their feedback of colors and designs. Like my oldest daughter now, she helped me figure out how to do the waves in the background. Cause I was like, how can I make these waves? And so she gave me the idea, and she made me the crab. She made me the hermit crab and the red crab, and she made me the dolphin. And she's pointed out one part of the book. I have the clown scooping up the fish, and I didn't add any water in there. And she says, Mom, you need to add some blue paper there because a fish won't live without water. So it was just really neat, the back and forth that she would help me with. And then my youngest daughter, she actually just cut out fish by herself, and I put them in the book, just round fish, and she made the little triangle tail, and she was only about 2 years and a month old. And what was really fun is I was on the phone with my brother, and he says, you need a sinking pirate ship or a sunken pirate ship in the book. Every ocean book has a sunken pirate. I said, okay, well, and being as an adult, I'm thinking, gosh, how am I going to make this? It has to be so perfect. But then I looked down, and after talking with my brother, my little girl had cut out this white shape that looked like a boat. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I took it, and then, and in the book, you'll see there's a little white piece still sticking out, and that's the sail. And then I put little round pieces of craft paper over it and followed her lines. And there was our ship, our sunken pirate ship. So they're just so creative, and I think it's so neat to see them being creative. I mean, it does so much for their self-esteem when they're seeing their hard work come to life. And then they love our story time events when the kids look at our book and they get excited about our books and they want to buy our books, and it's just, they love it. And I love to see the kids, my kids, see that and have that experience,
And and that's really, really fun. And, we're living in a time right now where you can take simple things like craft paper and scissors and cut shapes and whatnot, but then you don't need to take those images to a studio and pay money to turn them into pictures that go into a book. We have this little rectangular thing in our pockets that can take pictures of our kids' artwork, and we all have these devices that fit on our laps that we can then manipulate those pictures and we can create our own stories. And,
exactly.
And what a fun activity that would be for kids and families.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's why I started this class, and just to get kids thinking differently and using their mind differently. I think it's just it's something to be said when a kid has to stop and think and get creative and draw something up there by their own selves, or, just put things together on their own. And, I agree. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really empowering too, because I think on a really important level, what you're doing is you're empowering kids to let them know that their voice is important, and to let them know that they have a voice. And so hopefully, if they're learning in kindergarten and first grade that, hey, with the support of my family, I can take this story and we can create this story and we can share it with other people. Well, when they get to be in high school and college, I think they're more apt to take their ideas and be more confident in terms of presenting it, and whether it's an idea for a new product, or it's a new song or a video or a fiction book, or if they want to make a difference in the world and stand up and try to change things in society. I think this is a really wonderful place to start.
I agree. Yes, definitely.
So did this idea of creating your books with your kids, did it just kind of, the inspiration come out of nowhere, or was this something that you always dreamed of?
Well, no, I don't think it. I think it just kind of came out of nowhere, because I used to work in the schools as a school psychologist, and I would always. My job was to assess kids for learning disabilities or social emotional issues, and then I would counsel kids. And what I found was I would always pull a good book out and read with the kids that had the issues, difficulties. And I found that when we sat down and read something together, they really opened up about things, because you're a stranger at first, right? And so I felt like the book kind of broke ground for us. And then I would also draw pictures with them, like I had some kids that had, like attention deficit disorder or whatnot. And I found that, they dealt with their emotions. If they would push things that were heavy or push against the wall or do little movements, to help them, control themselves. So I would draw them a picture of it just to bring to life what those words would, what it would look like for them to do. And they really like that. And then we would color it. So they're kind of making this connection, So I guess I was kind of doing that with kids that weren't my kids. And then I had my children, and then, it got to the point where I was at home. I decided to stay home, and I thought, we need to do things together. And I've always been creative. I like to paint as well. In the past I painted, haven't painted in a long time, but, I've just always liked art. That's always been my passion. And, so I just sat down with my kids, and I just wanted to tell a story for them to have something, to have for the rest of their lives to look back on, and I think by incorporating pictures and doing art together, it just makes you have memorable experiences. So you can look back on your life and think, oh yeah, I remember I did that with my mom, and I don't know, you just kind of, maybe it did just come out of nowhere, but it was definitely turned out to be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it really is. And can you talk a little bit more about, as your experience working with kids, about the power of story and the importance of reading with our kids? I mean, it was a tool that really kind of opened up the door and allowed kids to talk with this person who was, a stranger. Can you talk a little bit about what that kind of power can do between, a parent and child?
Oh yeah, I agree. So I know that even just recently I came across a little kid that was, I don't want to say mute, but really just had a difficult time speaking, and I had some of those, when I was working as well. And I found that you definitely don't want to make much eye contact, because that's going to make them uncomfortable. But I found that when you just sit, it even maybe not the words of the book in the beginning, but if you just sit side by side with some distance between each other, where you're not making them uncomfortable, and you just open a book and start looking at pages of things and, just pointing things out, not the words so quickly, but hey, look at the colors of this, or, this looks pretty, neat. And then all of a sudden, those quiet ones are going to open up a little. Oh, I like that. I like this. I like that. And then it just kind of breaks the uncomfortableness, I guess you can say, of this new person, which is was what I did within the schools. And then we would just read the story, and then, of course, I would talk about the story after with the kids. What do you think about that character? And then I would say an example of myself and then what I heard in the story. I wouldn't necessarily jump into asking them right away, does that sound like you? Do you feel like that? I would kind of make it me or my imaginary kid at the time, to make them comfortable, or even my dog or something that had the same feelings. And then, over time, they'll just kind of express themselves, so, and then, with my own kids, we'll read stories and whatnot, and, already I think they're just so comfortable because it's mom. They're talking about, who they like in the book and what they like about the book. And, what just made me cry with happy tears was last summer, my daughter and I read, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And she was so cute because we had just got done summer reading that together, and she cried at the end, and she says, Mom, that was such a good book. I didn't want it to end. So I thought, books can be so powerful. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And story, human beings have been fascinated by stories, and we've been teaching each other through stories and bonding over stories for our entire history. And so now that we're inundated with screens and devices and things like that,
Yes.
we can't lose that human connection that stories create between people.
And I have to add about that. I think, it's almost so sad to say, but, I go to these storytime events, even just when I go with my kids to go look at the person reading the story, not just, when I have them, but I look and see, Barnes & Noble has a story person reading a story. And it just seems that, there's not as many parents sitting there reading the books with their kids, or, they're just kind of just hanging out on their cell phones while the kid's looking for a book, I'm almost wondering just how many people are buying books these days. How many, I know at my storytime events, we were so grateful that this past one we did, a lot of parents were so happy to get our books. But in the past, maybe it just depends on the city where you're living in. Some were so hesitant to buy a book here and there, and I would watch them and they wouldn't even leave with a book. So I'm thinking maybe they just go to, maybe books are too expensive nowadays. I don't know, but we have been lucky. The Circus Fish has done really well, and Andrew, that did pretty well too. And Andrew Boot Your Puppy, that was our previous book. But yeah, I'm just wondering how many people are actually buying physical books these days. That's what I would like to know.
Well, I don't have that answer for you, but I know there are an awful lot of books that are sold, and I know there are a lot of ebooks being sold, and there's a big debate about the power of the physical book over an ebook, and there are pros and cons, and we certainly don't have to solve that controversy here. But I'm really happy. I would absolutely suggest for families to pick up a copy of the Circus Fish, and one of the neat things about it is that you include a lot of cutouts in the book, so you could actually, your family can actually take and kind of create your own stories.
Oh yes, I love that part. Yeah, I thought I'm going to make sure that the next book that we do, it's going to have people kind of live our life, what we did. We would cut out our images and then paste them on the paper, and they can create their own scenes. So, and a lot of kids like that. They really like that. They get so excited when they see that at the end of the book.
Yeah. Well, we're really happy that we're here to be able to celebrate the Circus Fish by Marla Huehmer and illustrated by Marla and her children, Natasha and London Huehmer. Where can folks connect with you online to learn more about you and your books?
Oh, well, we just do the Instagram. We're not heavily into it, but we do post things here and there. It's Think Ahead Kids on Instagram, and we do a little bit of the Facebook Think Ahead Kids. So both on Facebook and Instagram, Think Ahead Kids.
Excellent. We've been speaking to the author of The Circus Fish, Marla Huehmer. Marla, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun. Thanks a lot.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Christina Bellagore. She's going to tell us about her fantastic Guru Kids series. You don't want to miss it. Hey, speaking of missing things, if you are the author of a great children's book, you don't want to miss an opportunity to let the world know how very, very great it is. You don't want to miss an opportunity to help your book stand out amongst the crowd of books that are published every single year. That's why we think you should check out our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program. We've assembled a team of evaluators. They're kids, their parents, and teachers. And if they believe that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a certified great read. And with that status comes all sorts of great tools that'll help you promote your book. You can learn more by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. We want to thank our guest today, Marla Huehmer. Be sure you check out The Circus Fish. We also want to thank our sponsors, Laura Wright. Check out her wonderful I Can Handle It book. We want to thank Linda Phelps, the author of Johnny Pocket Band, Battle of the Bands. And we want to thank our friends at KidCuratedBooks.com. KidCuratedBooks.com, a super service that will deliver a present-like box of books that's designed specifically for your kid every single month. Your kid is absolutely going to love it. Check it all out at KidCuratedBooks.com. Also want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. Be sure to check out her blog at readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank Augie the Wonder Dog for having my back during these sessions. And I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you find your podcasts. And also, most importantly, thank you so much for taking the time to read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.